Are you sick and tired of centralized exchanges like Coinbase controlling your money and telling you how to use it, when to use it, what fees to pay, and basically giving you no choice in the matter? Well, me too. My name is Mike with CryptoEase with Mike, and today I was supposed to be doing a presentation here for the community. Well, I promised my community I was going to put on YouTube, and this is supposed to be a presentation on how we can use Aerodrome Finance to go ahead and lock up our tokens and get paid bi-weekly in USDC. And I'm going to do a demo. This video is supposed to have been a demonstration of how we take our money from Coinbase over to Aerodrome Finance. And, here's our Coinbase over to Aerodrome Finance, and then over to Autopilot and a couple other things which I'll leave for that video when I get to it. But these wonderful people at Coinbase said, oh, wait a second, you want to swap your tokens and you want to withdraw them. And I'm so glad I did this before I did the video, because I knew there might be some issue. I uploaded another $500 just the other day to the CryptoEase wallet, the test wallet, and I swapped some of that for Aerodrome, as you can see right here. But I just want to, I'm going to show you in a second. But I just want to point out this lovely banner. ID check needed to complete. Yeah. So I went ahead and swapped a bunch of USDC stablecoin over to AERO token, which is at a really nice price right now. And you can see here's all of the transactions where I converted over a couple of days. So 15th, 17th, 20th today, I even swapped a little more. And now I wanted to send it off to my Rabby wallet, to my self-custody wallet, and Coinbase said, oh no, it's under review. You did not beg the gods for permission to use your own money. Oh my goodness, these people. And so hopefully I'll blank out that address later, but it's a CryptoEase wallet. So I'm not too concerned about that. But check it out. I am under review until December 23. Your transaction is undergoing a security review. This can take up to 72 hours. Go ahead and verify your ID. But hold on. I verified my ID when I opened this account. And I provided my full KYC to an exchange that has been hacked before and leaked all of our information onto the dark web more than once. And this has actually happened to some of my community followers as well. Oh, by the way, we have a community. Let me do this real quick. So this is just one of those stream of consciousness videos. But okay, who am I? I am Mike from CryptoEase. I started out investing $100 in Bitcoin back in May of 2020, and in less than a year, I had a portfolio of over $500,000 in early 2021. But along the way, I've made a ton of mistakes. I've been scammed. I've been rug pulled. I didn't have a coach. I didn't have anyone to help me. And I had to learn all these lessons the hard way. I've made hundreds of thousands of dollars of mistakes. I would have had a portfolio well into the million, maybe millions by now, if I hadn't have made those mistakes. And so what did I turn around and do? I'm like, well, let me help other people. The link is in bio, but actually, I want to point out this important disclaimer. All of my content is educational advice, for educational entertainment. Yeah, educational entertainment, not financial advice. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an accountant. I'm in cybersecurity in my day job, and I do the crypto thing here as my hobby, and looking forward to growing that as well. But always do your own research. Never invest more than you can afford to lose. And DeFi carries real risks, and so does crypto. And so you may want to have a guide along the journey for that, and I might be the one that you choose. There's many of us out there. Find your tribe. Find the people that resonate with you, with your life goals, and maybe find a community that's not just about crypto. It's also about other social aspects in life. So that is a little bit about who is CryptoEase, but or who is Mike with CryptoEase. But this is the video I was supposed to be making today, and I can't make that video because Coinbase said no. You're not allowed to transfer your AERO out to your self-custody DeFi wallet until you verify your ID. And it just PISs me off. Hopefully YouTube doesn't mind that. It gets to me no end. In the beginning, I was very compliant. In the beginning, I did start out on a centralized exchange. I started out on, I think it was called BitBuy, back in Canada when I was living in Canada. Started out with BitBuy. I was dollar cost averaging, which I highly encourage. If you're new to crypto and you don't know what to do, If you don't know where to start, investing, I highly recommend look up dollar cost averaging. Now, if you want to understand all of these technical terms and that kind of thing, we do have a resource in our community. It's called the Crypto Speak Decoder, and it explains all of these terms to you, as well as helpful courses like there's a crypto for newbies. They're just starting out from zero. There's also an introduction to DeFi, and then more advanced stuff and other projects and ways to make money. But if you're just starting out, you probably want to look into a technique called dollar cost averaging. Now, it's not unique to crypto. Dollar cost averaging is not unique to crypto. It is an investing mindset, an investing method where what you do is you take a regular amount. Let's say you got 20 bucks a week, maybe you got, 100 bucks a month, 500, 1,000, 10,000, whatever it is, and you put a regular amount into the assets that you want to buy. Now, if you're just starting out, if I was just starting out, let me rather put it like that. If I was just starting out today, I'd be wanting to buy blue chips. I'd be wanting to look at things like Bitcoin and Ethereum. And, those for me are what I consider those to be foundational blue chip assets. And I think everybody should have a little bit of Bitcoin and Ethereum or Ethereum. In your portfolio, whether your appetite is conservative, middle of the road, or super aggressive, by having at least some kind of a base. Now, the percentage might vary depending on your risk appetite. Having some kind of a base in Ethereum and Bitcoin gives you something to lean back on. And it's also something that you can leverage in times of need. And I'll give you an example. One of my members, Alex, David, David in Scotland, his wife wants to know, where is the money when we need it? So she doesn't understand crypto as much as he does, and that's fine. That's the case of a lot of couples. And in some cases, both partners are in the community and asking different questions and that kind of thing. But the point there is, if you need access to your money, in DeFi, you can get that. You can get access to your money 24/7. You can move your money whenever you like without begging, pleading, Coinbase or your bank manager or whatever. You can be your own bank. You can basically effectively build your own bank in crypto and DeFi, and get access to those funds. Now, I'm always a fan of, once you've bought an asset, do everything you can to hold on to that asset. So if something comes up in life, if there's an unexpected event, a health event, you need cash, you need it quickly, maybe you got to pay the IRS. I've done that before myself. And you need money. Don't sell your assets that you've worked so hard to acquire. But what you could do is you could do something called, smart borrowing. I call it smart borrowing. There are different opportunities, many projects out there. Some of them reputable, some not. Okay. But places where you can go and borrow against your crypto, you can do this in an intelligent fashion. It's not hard to do, but it can be complex. It can appear complex. And so there is a certain complexity barrier and a technical barrier to getting involved in DeFi. But that's why it's such an opportunity, because everybody else out there that's not watching this video right now couldn't care less. They're going to buy stocks. They're going to buy other markets that are manipulated. And it's not to say crypto isn't manipulated. It is. But where are you going to find a place where you can be a captain of your own ship and you can learn how to sail the waters of decentralized finance and know when to make different moves for you and your portfolio? Well, decentralized finance offers you that opportunity for sure. And the point there is that if I need to borrow money against my crypto, I can do it. I know where to go to do that, and I know how to do that safely. And those are things that we teach in the community as well. But happy to answer questions on any YouTube video about specific projects there. My point was that if you're just starting out, then probably I would want to look at Bitcoin and Ethereum, getting a base in those. But outside of that, then we're going to look at opportunities in DeFi. And, AERO token on Aerodrome is one of those opportunities, because here what you can do is you can go and buy some AERO. And the way you want to think about this AERO token and Aerodrome finance is this is like basically a metaphor. It's not a very practical one, but just for illustration purposes, think about this like a company, and you want to buy shares in a company, in the traditional finance sector. So in decentralized finance, we don't buy shares, we buy the token. And when you're holding that token, well, what's it doing for you? It's doing nothing. but we have opportunities to put that token to work. Whereas when you're buying shares of a company, well, you just hold those shares and you hope the market goes up and you hope that you sell it one day at a good price. Now, in some cases in the stock market, you can also borrow against your stocks with the margin loans and that kind of thing. And we can do the same here in crypto. But the point is that when you hold the AERO token, in this example, there's many examples out there, but in this example with Aerodrome Finance, when you hold the AERO token, you can actually lock up that token if you're willing to, and you can put it to work where you can earn a share of the fees. You can earn a share of the incentives that are available in these things, in these different, they're called pools, okay? Liquidity pools. And don't worry about the names and stuff here. This is just a bunch of pools. But what do you notice here is there's incentives in this case and rewards. Actually, let's go back to liquidity. So in this screen is a full list of all of the liquidity pools that are available on Aerodrome Finance, and their volume is at 1.47 billion. The fees that they've earned during the last epoch is close to $1 million, and the total value locked up on this project is just close to 400 million. This is not unusual, and Aerodrome is not the biggest, but they do have a fantastic opportunity, in my opinion, and also in the opinion of some of my senior members, like Celia, like David, like Alex, where we recognize the opportunity with Aerodrome Finance. Are there others? Yes, there are other opportunities. Am I shilling this? No, I'm not shilling it. I'm showing you what's working for us for right now. But this list here under liquidity, these are the liquidity pools that are available. And let's just walk through the top example here. So this pool, and don't worry about the blue stuff, the type of pool, any of that kind of stuff. I just want to highlight how this works. So here's USDC, which is a stablecoin, a US dollar stablecoin. You may have heard of it, USDC, and it's paired with the AERO token in what is called a pool, a liquidity pool. And the liquidity pool is a place where we can go and lock or stake two assets together that allow us to swap between those assets. So when you go to the bank, you're traveling. Let's say you want to go to Japan and you are going from the US. Now, we all know that in Japan, you might not be able to use US dollars. Maybe in some places you could negotiate that, but in general, you need yen. You need Japanese yen. So what do? You go to your bank and you say, I want to exchange. Where's my prop money? Here's my prop money. Yeah, these are actual US dollars. So I want to exchange my US dollars for some Japanese yen so I can go and have fun in Japan, try the sushi, go check out the blossoms in spring and go up the mountains and all that cool stuff. But I need to swap that at a bank. Same wise here in decentralized finance, we have all these different kind of cryptos, all these different kind of asset types. How do you swap those assets? How do you do that? Now, if you're on a Coinbase, remember those guys that locked up my money? Yeah, these fun guys over here. If you're on a Coinbase, then they are providing that as a service to you, and they are taking their very lovely fees in exchange for you to do that. And don't get me started on the fees there. The fees in DeFi are a lot less. And that is also part of the opportunity. But the point is that on a centralized exchange, it's like a closed box. You do all your swapping with that centralized exchange. You buy Bitcoin for dollars. You can buy Ethereum. You can swap between Ethereum and Bitcoin and all these different asset types right here, on Coinbase. And they facilitate that for you with very healthy fees. Now, another part of the challenge with centralized exchange is that you are at the whim and mercy of their rules that they make up whenever they feel like it. At least it feels like that some days. And here, I tried to do a swap on an account, a verified account that I verified with my ID when I opened this account, and they won't let me do this unless I prove my ID again. Now, contrast that with a place like Aerodrome. Now, Aerodrome doesn't work without a wallet. You do need a wallet. And there's two kinds of wallets I like to recommend. There's a Phantom wallet and a Rabby wallet. I have videos on that. Go check out my playlists or my other YouTube videos. And there's some lovely ones there that show you from a beginner point of view how to get started with those wallets. Are there other wallets? Yes, there are. One of the very popular ones is MetaMask. Now, I'm not a big fan of MetaMask anymore. When I started in DeFi in 2020, I did have MetaMask, and it was a wonderful wallet at the time, but they changed their terms of service. And the company that makes MetaMask elected and gave themselves the opportunity to track your IPs when you do transactions. A lot of people don't even realize that. They don't even read the terms of service. But that happened back in 23, I believe. And so whenever you're doing transactions on MetaMask, they're tracking your IPs. Yep. And well, what do you think is going to happen if some government department one day subpoenas them or whatever? Well, all of that information is going to be exposed. And so you're just not going to have the choice of when you want to expose that information. And I'm not advocating for anything illegal, but what I am advocating for is privacy. And I think privacy is normal. And I think that, I earned my money myself. I already got to pay taxes, in depending on where you live. And why do I need anybody else to know about what I'm doing with my money? And that is part of the opportunity behind decentralized finance. And so we talked about centralized being a closed box, and they do all the swapping and stuff for you. They handle all of that. And they're abstracting essentially what is decentralized finance to a point. Whereas in decentralized finance, once you have a wallet, and you'll see here is in my case, this is the CryptoEase Rabby wallet, and I've got it connected up here to the app. Now this looks like a web page, but on the back of this web page is an entire application and code and smart contracts. And so I go ahead and connect my wallet in order to see that. And I'll show you how that works. I'm going to go ahead and disconnect my wallet. Oh dear, something went wrong. Okay, I'm going to try and reload the page. So let's reload the page. And so now you'll see up top right here that this has changed to connect because I disconnected my wallet. So what does it look like when we go and connect our wallet? Well, here on this particular app or website called Aerodrome, they always say, hey, this is 100% operating on chain, and it's self-custodial. So they're trying to highlight a little bit the risk. And so I go ahead and say connect, and now I get a choice here, and I know the wallet that I want to use. Okay, I see they still got that reference to Coinbase wallet there. They're going to have to update that now. And I say browser wallet because I have browser wallets. And they say you need an Ethereum wallet. Now, Ethereum wallet means Ethereum compatible, because Aerodrome, the home of Aerodrome, is on the base chain. They're currently expanding. They just built a Solana bridge. They're expanding to Ethereum as well. But the home is on base chain. And so you do need to know what these chains are. So here I've got a choice between the different wallets. It's detecting the wallets that I have. And so I'm saying, hey, I want to connect my Rabby wallet. Now, why did I disconnect? I wanted to show you that you can't, nothing happens here without your permission, okay? And so even though I'm saying, yeah, go ahead and connect my browser-based wallet, I still get asked for permission inside my wallet. And so Rabby says, hey, Aerodrome wants to connect to your wallet. It's listed by these different places. It has a very high popularity. And you can go ahead and make little notes and whatnot against it there. You can say, it's trusted. I think it's trusted. So when you mark it trusted, the wallet remembers that. And I still need to go ahead and click on connect. So I am physically consenting to connecting my wallet, potentially my funds, to this project in DeFi. And then we talked about liquidity pools and what do they do versus a centralized exchange. And this is the function of these liquidity pools, is they allow for the swapping of assets within that pool. And in this case, in the very first example, you have USDC and you have AERO, and this pool allows me to swap my AERO to USDC, or it allows me to swap my USDC to AERO, and that is the function of that pool. Now, sometimes you want to swap to USDC to, I don't know, Bob's coin. And you might have to go through different pools to do that. In one case, maybe Bob's coin is paired with AERO, and I have USDC, so I will want to swap in the interface here, called the swap interface. Sometimes it's called trade or whatever, but basically the same thing. This interface sits on top of those pools. And so when I'm saying, I want to go and invest in AERO, I want to buy 0.0000001. How much is that? Not a lot. Ooh, that's a very, very small amount of AERO. I want to go ahead and buy 26 cents worth of AERO with ETH. And when I do that, then it's going to need to go through different pools. And that's what the fee outline here is all about. It's showing that effectively, this is traversing through a number of pools in order for me to realize the asset I want, where I'm trying to swap ETH to AERO. But if I do, let's say, take another asset that I do have, which is USDC, and let me go ahead and select that here. There we go. And then I say, hey, guys, I want to swap $1 for AERO. It's busy calculating that. And it calculated, and you see this changed? The fees changed. Why did the fees change? Because the route has changed. Now, I'd want to go and have another look at that. But basically, in order to swap this USDC to AERO, it's going to use those underlying liquidity pools. And then there's other things to consider, like what is the exchange rate? Well, currently the exchange rate is $1 to 1.9 AERO. Do I care? If you're interested, you could. What is the price impact or the spread? And then also, what is the slippage? Now, slippage at a high level, now this is set to 1%. I don't like that at all. I am a big fan of 0.1%. I like doing swaps that are 0.1%. You can't always do that though. But slippage is, in plain speak, while we're doing this and I'm saying, hey, I want to swap this $1 to this amount of AERO, that whole market is moving. Other people are swapping. Other people are doing stuff around the world in those pools or the affected pool. And so that can affect the price because AERO is a volatile token. US dollar, USDC is a stable coin, right? But the AERO asset, the market price is fluctuating while we speak. And if I take too long to make this swap, then the price of AERO could have shifted. It could have changed. And you'll see that price impact actually did adjust. It was 0.93, I think it was. And now it's 0.9. And this is what slippage allows for. So, are they defaulting me back there? Let me try 0.5 and say, yeah, I only want to do 0.5. And so the slippage is how much tolerance do I have for price changes when I do the swap? And so a low slippage means if there's a lot of volatility in that pool, your transaction might not actually complete. Whereas if you are doing this on a centralized exchange, like let's say a Coinbase, and let's say here I want to go and do, what could I swap? Let's see, I've got some ETH. Let's say I want to, actually let's just use USDC for the same example. I want to swap 11 cents of USDC to AERO on Coinbase. And you're going to notice a couple things. You'll see, where's that slippage thing? It's not here because they're taking care of that. It's a closed market, right? And so you just don't see that there. It doesn't mean that you're not impacted. They calculate that for you, okay? And you could, well, no, let's go and review the order. So to be honest, let's say 10 cents. Let's review the order. So what they're saying is this includes the spread and their fee. Okay, so I'm going to pay 10% fee to swap 10 cents. That's interesting. And there you see how the price is updating live, right? Their price updates live because they can do that right there. Whereas in this user interface here, we're on decentralized finance. We're reading from the blockchain, and it'll do the same thing. Some applications read more frequently than others. But those are some of the things to think about. So let's go ahead and swap that. I love buying AERO. I'm going to buy more AERO. I bought AERO 3 times today already. One of the things to point out, though, the beauty of the base chain is the fees are super cheap. And you're going to notice that even though I gave permission to connect my wallet, when I do want to go and do a swap, like right now, swapping $1 to some AERO token, I need to provide a confirmation. I need to confirm their access to my US dollar funds. And there's a small fee to do that. Very small fee. It's always very small. And this one is 0.0003 of a cent. I can say, yeah, sure, go for it. Whatever. That is such a small fee. I don't care. And now I've allowed that. And it's trying to prompt for that transaction to swap for AERO. But we're using Brave browser, so I'm going to have to do this refresh. I just know that already. And Brave Browser is my recommended browser for doing any crypto stuff. Ideally, you don't do crypto stuff on your mobile. I'll say this forever and a day. So many people get hacked. So many people get drained on mobile. Just another member just a couple of weeks ago, he got drained. He went out partying, and he's not sure, did he give someone access to his wallet, or did he actually get hacked? He doesn't know. And mobile is it's too insecure. It's very easy to do some swap attacks and other attacks. Just coming from me as a cybersecurity engineer, I prefer doing things on the computer. And here I'm using a test wallet, so I'm comfortable doing this with you here. But for personal crypto, there's different steps you can take to have a more secure approach. Ideally, you have a whole separate device, a separate computer for doing all of your crypto. Now, when you're just getting started and you've only got a couple $100 or a couple thousand in crypto, that's probably not something you could do, and that's okay. You are probably not going to be targeted to drain your wallet because you're too small. You're a small fish at that point, and that's okay. But there are steps that you can take to secure the process, and we cover that in the group. But ask me any questions about that. And just normal things to think about are: do you have an antivirus? Do you patch your computer on a regular basis? Are you using a good browser like a Brave browser? Whereas things like Chrome and Edge, those are not ideal. They're sending a lot of telemetry and information back to Microsoft and Google, and it's also very easy to try to get you to click on different things that you shouldn't using those. Whereas something like a Brave browser, you have some features like, let me show you this here, shields. I got my shields down right now on purpose for this transaction that we were going to do. And let's go ahead and do that again. So I've got to reinitiate the whole thing. That's a bit of a pain in the butt. So it's going to recalculate the route, recalculate the quote, and all of that. But, oh, let's change that slippage back. You nasty people keep coming with your 1% slippage. And we're going to go and swap it now. Come on, lads. Let's do that refresh again. Do I need to do it again? So I got my approval still there for the dollar, but the swap is not coming up for me. So let me do a refresh again. One. And they're forcing me. Are you forcing me to set the slippage to 1%? Maybe you are. Okay, I'm going to have to investigate this later. But these are things that I do all day long. I'm just not going to dwell on this for the purpose of the video. But this is an example. Somebody as experienced as me, having gone through these things, is when you take the safe approach, then sometimes you're going to run into roadblocks. And you definitely do not want to lean on that. Well, just go do it. We'll just go do it. But what I could do, if I really wanted to do this trade right now, I could go and use the swap function inside of the Rabby wallet. I could do that. It's on base chain right there, and you'll see those are some different chains there. But that's not the point. The point is that the button is not highlighting for me right now. And that is part of the functionality of the site on Brave browser. If I put this onto Chrome, this will be working no problem. And these are some of the protections that Brave browser has. And so that's another great reason for being able to ask questions on these YouTube videos, or to have a community where you can go and do that, is, hey, the button won't work. What do I do next? And we could work through that. I'm stuck in it now because it's getting too complicated for this video. But the whole point here was we were talking about liquidity pools and how these pools exist in decentralized finance to allow money to move, right? And money moves by having these pools where we swap from one asset to another asset so that I can then go and do things with that asset. So I hope that this has been a bit of an introduction for you into how liquidity pools work outside of my whinging and complaining about Coinbase. The challenge here, guys, is that and ladies, is that we have no choice. Living in the US and other first world countries, other countries with regulation, we have no choice but to abide by the regulations. And so it's like we want to be on this highway called decentralized finance. I can go as fast as I want. I can go as far as I want, and do all of these things. But the only way to get an on-ramp onto this highway called decentralized finance is I have to go through a centralized exchange. I have to do KYC, which is called Know Your Customer. That's the the legal term, know your customer, but basically sharing my ID, sharing my passport, my address, my phone number, all of that information. That they have been hacked before and leaked this information. It's available on the dark web. It's really pathetic, the way the system is, kind of geared that way. And so anytime that I want to do something with these guys, they're controlling and they're being like, yeah, you got to redo your identity. But I did that already when I opened the account. In decentralized finance, you don't have to do these things. You've got access to your money 24/7. You can decide what to do with your money when you like. You can buy and hold. You can put your assets to work. You can earn passive income. And that's what my community is about. So the link is in bio. We're closing out. I'll do my little CTA. You can unlock hands-free passive income growth using automations that we like to use.